Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Old Hunt, where we are still celebrating 10 years of Bloodborne. I am here in the Nightmare Frontier, having just gotten myself out of a pretty sticky situation, both literally and figuratively. I was fighting a couple of hunters around this area, and happened to fall down into the swamp that you can see over there, and had rocks hurled at me, and got a little bit lost, and it was an unpleasant experience, but I think all of the unpleasantness at this point has been resolved. I already fell down. Well, I didn't really fall down. I was already down there to get the item that's there if I fell. Just wanted to make sure. Yeah, I thought there was something up here, so wanted to make sure I could grab this. Okay, it's going to be another one of the lake runes. And yeah, that's another thing about this place, right? I don't remember if I said it 100% or not. I definitely remember talking about the idea that FromSoft loves poison swamps. But the other thing about FromSoft's poison swamps is they often reward you for, like, really thoroughly exploring them. And I think that's kind of cool, right? Because poison swamps obviously are places that not everybody's going to love running around in. In fact, most people are going to try and avoid them as much as they can, or if they can, stay on the straight and narrow. And so the sort of encouragement to explore and find all these valuable items is always something that I've appreciated about FromSoft. It's like, okay, if you can take the pain that we're going to constantly dish out to you, you're going to be rewarded. And I think in Bloodborne, it's particularly nice. I don't know if this is always the case because I haven't really thought about it in all of the other Soulsborne games. But definitely in Bloodborne, one of the big rewards that you get for doing that sort of exhausting exploration that's really draining and potentially tedious is you get ways to bolster your defenses, right? There's a bunch of lake runes. You also get ways to bolster your offenses, right? You fight the enemies. I've been getting these elemental gem drops, which is good because I've got a build that is going to make good use of them, but they're not really ultimately going to stick around, right? At some point in the game, if you keep going, you'll probably find more powerful elemental gems, and like the upgrade materials that we're getting a lot of bloodstone shards and twin shards, right? And at this point, yeah, it's nice to be able to get more weapons to +6, particularly in this playthrough where I'm trying to, experiment with a lot of different weapons, but that's not the high tier weapon upgrade, right? That's not the like ultimate reward. However, the fact that there's lake runes to be had here, and probably deep sea runes as well. I haven't, done the full exploration to find them. All of that is a sort of fun way of saying, look, if you go through this, really difficult area, we'll give you tools to help you with other difficulties. And even potentially these same difficulties, right? I could go back and put on that rune and gain some additional resistance to whatever the relevant, damage or poison buildup it is. I forget which great body of water does what off the top of my head here. Anyway, I thought that was a fun thing to sort of touch on. And now I want to go back, having come down all this way. I want to try and work out... Get a little bit lost in the Nightmare Frontier. I know I've been here before. There's a shortcut that I would like to unlock. I forget exactly how to do it. I think I have to go through... No, not through there. We'll go through there eventually. Maybe I have to go forward? No, maybe I want to be up... Interesting. Actually, this item I think I just jumped for. So that other item over there that I was sort of tempted by, you can't really get at this point in the game. This item, you can totally get at this point in the game. And looking at the layout of the land here, might be able to just come over this way. Yeah, just right here. I don't even have to jump. I can just drop. Here we go. Pick up some lead elixirs. All right. I was thinking it might be fun to try one of those lead elixirs with this particular weapon here, because lead elixirs sort of make it difficult for enemies to stagger you, and if enemies are having a hard time staggering you, then that means you can hit them with, like, a long, slow charge attack like this. Maybe. Building up the sort of fundamentals here, I suppose, for if I ever want to actually do this playthrough, where I focus mostly... This is the shortcut I want to unlock from the other side here. But yeah, thinking about the ways that I could potentially maximize that super-powered hit from this stake driver. Anyway, I think what I have to do is circle around, and it's going to be a little bit repetitive, but it'll probably be worth it. It'll probably be worth it. I think I already killed the one enemy down here. Yep, there he is. He or she. I don't know. It's a strange physicality enemy. And fortunately, this thing should die relatively quickly, which I need to... Oop, that's what I was afraid of. I need to be careful of falling rocks. So there's good things and bad things about my dying there. The bad thing is I lost all those blood echoes, and I've been trying to gather a bunch of those so that I can level up. And I'm just going to run past all these enemies now. The good thing is that I've replenished my blood vials, which I was going to have to do at some point no matter what. And more good news, just in general, having defeated those 2 hunter enemies, they're gone. We'll never see them again. And this area, if you play the game online, is sort of a hotspot for invasions, but we don't really have to worry about that because I'm playing offline. So I think they put those 2 hunter NPCs there. Boy, this thing's nasty. I think they put those 2 hunter NPCs there to sort of give you an indication that, you know, sort of PvP is what this place is all about. All right, I do want to kill this thing. 1, 2, and now I just want to keep moving. There we are. Survived it. Am I going to survive it again? I got to get to the point where I can actually go up the hill here. There we are. And now attack this enemy that's been throwing these things at me. Hello there. I wonder how you feel about this attack. Oh, it was the wrong one. Oh well. I'll take it. Being easily able to defeat this enemy is quite nice. But I'm curious about what happens if I hit it with a more powered up attack. We'll find out. We'll find out. Meanwhile, there's some more items for me to pick up as I continue to explore the Nightmare Frontier. There we are. More materials for me to eventually read. I don't know when I'll read through the materials, but I need to do it at some point, so we'll get there. And now I can actually pick up this item drop, because we went in something of a circle around up to that upper area, fall back down around here, and now we can sort of head up this way, where I think we'll eventually be opening up that shortcut that I was talking about. We'll find out. Although we do have these enemies to deal with here, and they continue to throw rocks. So I'm going to have to make a dash for it across the open ground here, and deal with this enemy quickly. Ow. Behind this large gravestone, I can use as cover. There we go. I'll take it. Okay. I'll wait for another rock to come. I probably could have just waited, but for this section, it's nice to be at full HP. Okay. Now. Uh-oh. Now I'm in trouble. The combination of those rock-throwing enemies and the HP meter being what it is, well, I probably could have... Interesting. I don't want to get too close to that edge because that rock will hurt. And those fragments would be bad news. Alright, what about this? Oh, alright, well, did a bunch of damage. Wasn't quite the effect I was looking for. You could hear I was sort of expecting a more impressive blast to throw this thing back, but it is a gigantic enemy, so I suppose it's fair enough that it doesn't get sent flying, but I was hoping it would. Oh well. I can live with that. Alright, we gotta go back and deal with that enemy, because these 2 enemies, as you saw, can sort of reach one another with their rocks. So this one can get as far as there, which is really, really far. So you have to be careful how you fight that one. And the one that's stationed here, because it has the advantage of height, can throw even further down towards that enemy. So that's why I decided to sort of deal with the situation by quickly running over in this direction and then choosing to double back. Now, probably the smart thing for me to do would be to try and unlock the shortcut immediately, but I'm not going to bother with that. I'm going to risk coming back here and potentially dying and dealing with that enemy on that ledge. Because the other thing that will do... Oh boy. The other thing that will do is it will enable me... Yeah, good. Throw that rock. I'll get this reset up here. There we are. Ah, so close to one-shotting it. That's okay. That's okay. It's still impressive. The gigantic attack there. It's still a spectacle to see. So, I'm still pretty happy with that. Let's get this set back into quick mode here. I can't remember if I finished the thought, but if you look down here, this is about the area where I fell down before, and somewhere over there in that little passageway. So if I had run out into this open area, I would have been contending with the boulders from these two giants on these, in which case both of them would have the upper ground. And that's just not fun. They're throwing those instant death rocks at you. So, good to have them dealt with. Also, I'm going to want to open that shortcut, which I think is like wrapped around this way somehow. I don't remember where exactly it is, but it's like an offshoot. Maybe all the way if I go up here, and then come back around this way after having, you know, presumably dealt with that enemy. Yeah, here we go. This is looking right. This is looking promising. And I think, yep, there's a couple of these wandering madnesses. Oh no. Oh no, it ran off. I didn't get to activate the shortcut. Alright, well, now that I'm back here... Why was... Maybe there's a, the damage bonus from attacking an enemy that's attacking you was enough for me to get the one-shot with the R1 before. Yeah, because that thing was in the middle of spitting fire, I think. That was the reason that I was able to get that one-shot with the R1. I thought it was weird that I'd be able to one-shot it with just that R1 attack. It seemed a little bit too strong. Alright. I think what I'll do, maybe I'll just jump forward in editing. So I will... Get this grass out of the way. I will see you again shortly. And, you know, through the magic of editing, I will jump ahead, and I'll be back to actually unlock that shortcut. Alright, that was actually a lot easier than I thought it was going to be because all the enemies were dead. I just got it, like, set in my mind that that's going to be a difficult thing to do. But we're back here, and... Ta-da! I think that's the coolest way to unlock a shortcut in the entire game. Like, there are some pretty cool shortcuts in Bloodborne. Arguably not as cool as some of the other Soulsborne games, but the ways that you unlock them, it's usually like pulling a lever or opening a door. And this one, you just go out onto the rock until it falls down, and now you've got a ramp. It's the most, like, interesting, I think, method of unlocking a shortcut. And I don't think there's anything, like, super notable about it, super fancy to, like, have in mind. I guess if I wanted to be somewhat pretentious, I could talk about how, like, the metaphor of this place falling apart and my weight causing the descent of the rock, right? Maybe that could be very important. I don't think I don't think it is actually meant to be taken that way. I think it's supposed to just be a fun way to unlock a shortcut in this case. And I'm happy to unlock it that way. Oh, I forgot. These fight back. Not that it's going to do it any good. So long, buddy. Give me some twin shards. Yeah, that's what I want. Okay, I don't think there's anything out on this, like, treacherous path. I think if I keep going that way, I'm gonna fall. And I don't really want to fall right now. Okay. Yeah, good. Okay, and I've got the antidotes out, because I'm about to need them. I think. If I am where I think I am. Yes. Alright, so I've got my HP recovering. I think I'm just going to let the HP recovery do its thing for now. I was thinking about using a blood vial, but I don't think it's worth it. Alright, so a couple things to note here. There's that item over there, but more importantly, what's going on here? Let me get out my monocular. There we go. Let me get out my monocular. And just come... Who's this here? It's like a spider, except it has a man's head. And is he wearing like a pendant or something? Is that just part of the rock? I don't know. You can actually hit this thing from here, right? You can throw a Molotov cocktail or a pebble or something, and you can attack this thing. However, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to get out of the monocular view. Oh, stopped right on it. Look at that. Bingo. And I'm actually going to come over here and get this item first because it's just the smart way to go about it. Here we are. Ooh, blood vials. That would have been even better. Oh, and I forgot this thing was here. But I'll take the bloodstone shards. There we are. Okay, and now this is a point where I could start working my way through this. Once we go through this particular swamp, like, this is going to be how we eventually make forward progress. But we're not quite ready to make forward progress because we have what's going on with our friend over there to deal with. Okay, let's come over here. And somewhere, okay, right here it is. We're going to get a message. It's a note. And here we go. It's another one of these things where Japanese gets to have a little bit more fun than English because the note is literally, right, in one interpretation, just ahead, you will be able to witness holy mystery. But of course, we have that same ambiguity with the kanji where it's mamieru or mieru, right? So mamieru, have audience with holy mystery. Right? So just up ahead, you could have a meeting with the divine, right? And I think it makes sense to say that because, right, as much as, you know, the gift of the Godhead will grant you strength, it seems to be that the directions that we've gotten that have carried us to this place, you know, here you are, a beast of the fields, treading a measure with the gods, right? All these indications seem to be like you will have audience with a great being, a great one, and that will provide you a source of arcane strength, right? Of strength that we can't really understand, but is linked to the godhood. You could argue with that, right? I think there's some ambiguity that's intended here, because remember, Shinpi Arcane, like, that's one of our stats, right? I don't think this note is pointing us to meet one of our stats. I think maybe early on, you're supposed to get the double meaning and think, okay, well, maybe arcane power will be granted to us, and I want to build up my arcane, right? I think that's something you can say about early on in the quest line. I think at this point, and in hindsight, you can even look back and say these are probably references, and that's why I think you get lines in English like the gift of the Godhead will grant you strength, because of this sort of context, right? They would have had, I think, a fuller understanding of the quest line that they were working on, so that they could just say, okay, you will, like, the whole point is for you to have audience with, for you to encounter a great being, a great one, right? By implication. It's not straight out said, right? Because it's just Shinpi, right? Holy mystery, arcane, divine truth of the world hidden from sight. That might seem mad, right? That whole idea. So we have to do a little bit of interpretive work to get there. But I think that's the implication that is being, like, pointed at, right? I think that's the thing that you're supposed to be tempted by. And this is, I feel like, a little bit of like this particular quest line I feel like is a little bit of a missed opportunity. It doesn't quite work the way that I think it should, because I do think that this is how we're supposed to take it. We're supposed to, I think, be tempted into having audience with a great one, and in a way that's already happened, right? Because we've run into a strange invisible being that has, like, grabs us, and just beholding it blows our minds, right? We get the frenzy, and then we're teleported into a nightmare, right? So we've met a creature, and I didn't point this out when we went into the Grand Cathedral, but there are statues that line the stairway on your way in that are all depicting that same sort of invisible creature that we saw, right? So you have this idea that that is a great one. So in a sense, we've already had audience with a great one, and it's brought us here. And now we've sort of taken the plunge to throw ourselves into the nightmare frontier. And now we're getting a note again that's saying you can have audience with a great one, right? And we're going to see how this plays out. And I think you'll see what I mean. But anyway, what's this item over here?
Don't dally, you lucky Godhead coming!
Right, so there you have it. We are once again put in this situation where we're being manipulated by that individual, right? And we should recognize that voice because it's the one that was telling us. I sort of already gave it away with my mentioning of the quest line up to this point, where that's actually the voice of the character that sort of tempted us, and that thing that kicked us off was that, like, spider-like figure, right? So we were able to now we can sort of put everything together for real. Okay, I wasn't sure if I was standing on... There are little islands in this poison swamp area where you can not be taking poison damage, so I thought I was standing on one of them. I'm definitely standing on one of them now. I think these enemies will slowly approach me, but maybe I'll be able to make enough use of this footing to finish the thought. We'll see. Not looking likely, actually. All right, we're going to do a little bit more fighting. And if we're going to do a little bit more fighting, I should probably do a little bit of healing. All right. Here we go. Yeah, show me those messengers inside. Okay, there we go. All right, now, let me stand back on the land where I am not about to get poisoned. And, yeah, we'll just slowly heal over here. But, anyway, I was saying, we can now sort of put together the quest line that's brought us here, right? We hear the strange voice of the creature, which we now... it's pretty clear, right? We saw the spider legs that kicked us down, right? So, it was the spider with a man's head that we couldn't see that seems to have teleported inside the houses of Yharnam. And it's sort of interesting. I went back and forth with someone in the comments. It's been a while, so I can't remember who it was. Maybe I'll look that up in editing and put the thanks on the screen. And it's interesting to think about how that character gets there, right? Because there's the thing where there's a voice behind every house, and I mentioned how, like, literally anyone you talk to after the defeating Vicar Amelia, you'll get the dialogue that gives you the tonsil stone. I think that's a little bit of a gameplay convenience, the fact that it's behind every door. I think they just want you to not be able to miss that event. And it's a little bit of an unfortunate thing that until you reload the area, that voice will just continue to be behind every door. Once you reload the area, that dialogue stops resetting, right? So once you reload the area, it's no longer as much of an issue. But I think what they expect you to do is to get the dialogue, talk to one of the doors, and then immediately, like, enact the advice, and therefore end up reloading areas, and you just sort of hear the message once. So I think the idea is that this character could be behind any door, but is only ever actually behind the one that you talk to next. I could be wrong about that. Could be meant to be everywhere, but I think it's supposed to be just the one. And I think we can sort of see, because this character obviously is associated with this sort of place, nightmares, right? Nightmare lecture building, that character is there, right? We were talking behind a closed door, and you could sort of see in that episode where we talked to the figure, you could sort of see the face, but you couldn't see the body was a spider body. And now we got double the reveal, right? Because we saw the spider waiting in advance to ambush us, right? They placed the treasure down there, and when you go for it is when they go and kick us off the ledge. And having done that, they, like, scamper away, right? So that's the real big reveal. And that's why I was talking about it was so fun to, like, have that character say, take the plunge, right? Throw yourself to the wolves, because you're literally getting thrown off of the ledge here by, taking fate into your own hands and going forward into the Nightmare Frontier, right? But to this is all very convoluted. This is because I haven't scripted anything. Sorry, everybody, if this is too confusing. But it's interesting to me to think, because this character is associated with nightmares, like, sort of like we're associated with a nightmare in the Hunter's Dream. I still think the Hunter's Dream can be understood as a nightmare, and, connected to all these other different aspects of the world and the other nightmares. However that connection works, I think the Hunter's Dream is a part of it. And I think it sort of seems like this other character who has access to nightmare realms can also pop up in the world of Yharnam, just behind closed doors, right? We're always out in the streets. That character pops up behind closed doors. And I don't know what there is to differentiate that. We're probably not supposed to think too hard about it. But I do think it sort of makes sense that if we're associated with a dream, if, as I think, we're sort of a spirit, right, living on after we die in the intro cutscene, then and then we can interact with the world, because the way that the world and our dream overlap, right, we just go out into the streets. That character associated with the nightmare could pop up inside houses to talk to us. Maybe he's also dead, some other sort of spirit. Maybe not. Maybe he's in the same sort of state as the scholars, and he got transformed in a different way, right? His body's not translucent. He's got a spider body. So maybe that's what's going on. I don't know. But the reason I think this quest line is maybe not quite what it should have been is he kicks us down here, and I think the idea is he talks about, the gift of the Godhead cometh. Now, in Japanese, it's a little bit more speculative, so it could work a little bit better. But speculative is also a way for Japanese to, indicate the future, right? If you listen to a forecast in Japanese, a weather forecast, they're not going to tell you it is going to rain, right? Ashita wa ame desu, right? They're not going to say that. They're going to say ashita wa ame desho, right? They'll probably actually use a much more complicated sentence. But the thing that I want to highlight is that it's not des, it's desho, right? And so the character using daro, which is the less formal equivalent of desho, is, it's, I want to say speculative because that's what I have in my head. It's a little bit uncertain, but that uncertainty is being used in furthering a prediction, right? So it seems like that character is expecting us to encounter holy mystery, just like the note says, ahead you will encounter holy mystery. He kicks us down and says, okay, the holy mystery is on its way. No, it's not. How long have I been standing here? I've been standing here just talking to you for several minutes. I don't think those slug-like things moving in the background are the holy mystery. Maybe they are, right? I think Shimpi, arcane, holy mystery, I think that term is meant to be understood somewhat vaguely and differently in different senses. So maybe these sorts of creatures are what he's talking about. And throwing us down into this pool here is what's meant to be our encounter with the arcane. But I don't think that really holds up considering how things are going to go from here. Like, having had this reveal, having met with this betrayal for potentially a second time here, I feel like there maybe should have been a boss, somewhere in this vicinity, and there's not. So maybe that's fact of the game that changed at some point in development, and this storyline is now just somewhat nonsensical. Maybe not. Maybe I just don't understand it. I've never really understood how exactly this character's logic has been supposed to work. But I don't know. Maybe I'm not supposed to understand. Maybe. Anyway, that's enough on that. Let's see if we can get, because if I come this way, the way that I was saying I wanted to come before, go out into that open area, now that I don't have to worry about the giants throwing the rocks down at me. It's usually a good idea to not stand directly in front of an enemy when they're, going to attack you, but I just wasn't scared of that one, so. Okay, here we go. That second meter, by the way, I don't know if I've said this, is rapid poison. And that rapid poison sort of works the same way Frenzy does. So if I were to ever, if I were to ever get that bar to fill up, I don't do it. It happens because of a environmental hazard that I'm dealing with. If that bar were to ever fill up, it would deal a burst of damage to me. I don't think quite as much as Frenzy does, but still, it would be something. Okay, now let's get past this thing. Instead, let's get past this thing. There we are. But I'm not that scared of that tiny little rapid poison buildup. Okay. Now, there's a somewhat unique item back here, but there's also a very scary enemy. So, this is going to be interesting. There's a very good chance that I will die. Listen to that. There it is. This is a classic horror thing that Bloodborne, I think, does very well, right? No, I missed it! Oh, I'm gonna die. Oh, I'm so dead. There's the frenzy. Yep. And I'm dead. I hope you're ready for a lot more of that outcome gameplay, Matt. But before I let you get on with your descent into madness, I wanted to finish the thought you didn't quite have enough time to elaborate on. It's a pretty simple idea that boils down to how well Bloodborne executes on a type of subversion often seen in horror, where things that would otherwise be seen as happy, fun, or comforting are rendered horrifying. In this case, the singing of a melody consisting entirely of the sounds la 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 has become the hallmark of this enemy, which also happens to have the same body as the doll. Thus, two things that would otherwise be considered innocuous, charming, or a source of comfort instead represent what I find to be the most terrifying enemy in the game. At this point, it should be no mystery why I think that, but that's a thought I can let Gameplay Matt finish as he also deals with all the upcoming moments of frustration. Alright, I thought I'd skip past me killing all those enemies and getting back to this point, but now you can see why that enemy is so scary. The whole thing, all it does is try and grab you. But because it's an abomination, it's constantly doing frenzy build up to you. And that can be super deadly. So what I want to do here is I want to put a sedative. Look, I only have one. This may not go well. I want to put a sedative right so that I can switch to it after my antidotes here. And I'm going to try to recover those blood echoes. I'm also a little bit curious how it's going to feel about a full charge blast from that, and whether I'll have time to get my big attack off, or if it will grab me first. You can parry that grab, which is what I was trying to do the first time, and then you can get a visceral, and if you time the visceral right, you can even ignore the tick of frenzy damage if it happens while you're in your invincibility frames from the visceral. Very cool trick. I've done it before. I'm not very reliable with it, as you just saw. So I'm going to abandon it in favor of that alternative approach. We're going to see how it goes. Come on, run at me. Alright, we'll try again. Ah. Alright, well, that did not go as planned. But we're going to try again. And having lost, 50,000 blood echoes? Like, I actually feel decently good about that now that I've got 28,000 again. I'm just going to keep trying, right? Because I think this... Man, if I can send one of those things flying, it's going to be so satisfying. Those things are such creatures of nightmares. Oh, man. It's going to be so satisfying. Let's try it. Let's try it. I'm going to get real close this time. No, the grab is faster! Oh, come on! Oh, that would have been incredible. Am I alive? No, I'm dead from poison or whatever. All right, well, I'm going to get this. Okay. I've been going the one way. Let's try going the other. We're going to try going this way, around this pillar. I don't know how much it's going to get me. I think I want to try and run behind the enemy to make it waste time turning around. And then that's the point at which I'll hit it with my giant attack. Hopefully it turns around, because if I get the backstab, it's not going to go flying. And I really want to send this thing flying. If this attempt doesn't work, then whatever. I'll go back to just using regular attacks, and probably that will be enough. But I'm gonna try it. Come on, miss. No, it got me again! Ah, oh, absurd. Alright, please heal. Nope, I don't have the HP. Alright. Alright, I'm just gonna do a regular attack. At least I got the blood echoes that time. Alright, we're back. Hopefully, this time, I'm not gonna try anything fancy. I'm not gonna be greedy. Just gonna try and... No! Ah, I'm so dead. Yep, I don't have the life. I'm gonna get this if it takes me all day. Okay, I think there's only one way this is going to happen. I think I need to get the parry. I think that's my only chance. So we're going to try it. Oh, what? Come on! Okay, I had a new idea. This might not work, but I think it could be interesting. So I'm going to give it a go. No! No, I wanted the sedative, not the... I like the way that's going, though. Okay, I'm probably only going to have one shot at this, but I've got my sedatives right by the... or much closer to the auger now. So we're going to give it a shot. Shoot, what a waste. Okay. Okay, we're still gonna make it work. Nope. Ah. Alright, here we go again. That last attempt gave me some hope. I'm thinking that maybe I can be fast enough with the healing that I can make good use of the auger despite the frenzy buildup. Ah, I got grabbed again! Alright, I'm just gonna skip ahead to whenever I kill this thing, because it's going to happen. And there it is. I was overthinking it. I got that visceral, and that was that. And I think that's a guaranteed drop on that particular droplet gem. And then, of course, we can come up here, be free of the poison, and get this item that was definitely not worth it. The Messenger's Gift. But, man, that episode really took it out of me. So I think I'm going to take a moment here to take a break. I'm going to call it for now, and we'll get back to exploring the rest of the Nightmare Frontier next time, right? So I'm going to call an end to my hunt for the evening. I hope you had a good time joining me, and I wish you good hunting. Much better hunting than I had this particular evening. All right. See you next time, everybody.